Today, we're going to try and map a world that is constantly redrawing itself. The absolutely massive and, let's be honest, chaotic universe of electronic dance music. If you follow the scene at all, you know that keeping up feels like trying to drink from a fire hose. So let's see if we can make a little sense of all the noise.
Okay, so you're scrolling your feed. 1 second, you see that Swedish house mafia is making this huge return to Ushuaia.
The very next, you hear that Native Instruments, a titan in music tech, has filed for preliminary insolvency.
Then bam, out of nowhere, Tomorrowland drops a completely mammoth lineup for 2026.
And then you see a new track from Mac Guinness is out, one that's designed specifically for DJs to mix. And then a new study finds that most young people are already listening to AI-generated music. Okay, deep breath. It's just a constant flood, right? So how do we even begin to make sense of it all? Let's break it down piece by piece. First things first, you gotta start with the core of this whole world, the music itself. The sheer volume and, more importantly, the variety of tracks being released every single day is just staggering. It really is an endless stream of new sounds. And we're not just talking about one type of sound here. On any given day, you can get an artist like Avohi mashing up classical Vivaldi with these intense modern dance beats, and at the same time, a producer like Michael BM is dropping a fiery Latin tech edit. We're talking two completely different worlds, both existing under the same umbrella. And believe me, that rabbit hole goes deep. We're talking Baus house, tech house, dubstep, drum and bass. The list just goes on and on, literally into hundreds of microgenres. And each one is its own little ecosystem with its own dedicated fans, its own artists, and its own unique sound. And don't think for a second that this relentless pace is just for the up-and-comers. No way. You've got titans of the industry like David Guetta, constantly collaborating with producers like Jaden Boysen to drop new tech house heaters. That stream never, ever stops, from the deep underground all the way to the mainstream.
But, EDM isn't just something you listen to in your headphones. It's a culture that is built around a massive global live experience. So let's take a look at how this whole thing plays out on the global stage.
The entire year for a fan is pretty much structured around these huge anchor events. You've got Miami Music Week kicking things off, then the whole industry gathers for Amsterdam Dance Event in the fall, Tomorrowland completely takes over the summer, and you've got expansions like EDC in Thailand that just show the incredible global reach. The whole scene is always building towards that next massive event.
And the scale of these things is it's mind-blowing. That Tomorrowland lineup we mentioned a minute ago, it features over 400 artists. Let that sink in. That's not a concert. It's basically a temporary city built entirely for music. It perfectly illustrates the sheer scale of this live ecosystem.
And it's not just about the giant festivals either. The live scene is this really complex web of major club residencies in places like Ibiza, unique back-to-back world tours, artist-curated events, and these huge reunion tours. It's a multi-layered world of performance that's happening all at once.
So, we have the music, and we have the events. But who are the people actually driving this culture forward? Let's zoom in on the artists themselves, the faces behind the decks.
You've got an artist like Synthesis who is wrestling with a very, very modern problem. How do you use new technology, like that AI stuff we mentioned earlier, without losing the human soul of the music? It's this absolutely crucial balance between innovation and authenticity.
Then for others, like Sandro Silva, the journey is really deeply personal. A new EP isn't just a collection of cool tracks. It's a whole new chapter. It's about evolution, both in their sound and as a person, and that's honestly what keeps the scene from ever getting stale.
And then, of course, you have the veterans. For someone like Scorch Felix, who's been in the game for 2 decades, innovation isn't just some buzzword. For them, it's about pushing the entire craft forward, finding new ways to perform, new ways to mix, and new ways to connect with an audience. All right, so we've seen the music, the stage, and the artists. But there is one more crucial layer to our map, the industry, the business of beats that really powers this entire global machine. Now, to understand our next point, we need to quickly define a key term, preliminary insolvency. Okay, basically, it's when a company that's in financial trouble gets court supervision to try and reorganize its debts. So it's not quite bankruptcy, but it is a sign of some very serious challenges. And this is why that matters.
Native Instruments, a company that's been a foundational part of music production since 1999, is now going through that exact process. This is a huge shockwave because their tools are used by countless artists to create the very music we've been talking about. But the industry story isn't all negative. On the flip side, you have institutions like EDM House Network, and they're celebrating a full decade of influence. It just goes to show you that while there's definitely volatility, there is also resilience and a lot of success within the business.
So we've mapped the music, the stage, the artists, and the industry. Where does this map lead us? What does the future of this world even look like?
Well, we can start to see the outlines taking shape. AI is obviously a much bigger part of the conversation. Artists are starting to explore a post-EDM sound, and the live experience itself is evolving, with DJs collaborating with full symphony orchestras and new venues like the Sphere promising entirely new ways to connect with music. All the trends seem to be pointing towards more integration, more experimentation, and even bigger experiences. Which, of course, brings us to our final question. We've laid out the landscape, the constant flow of new tracks, the massive events, the innovative artists, and the complex industry behind it all. In a world this saturated, with an endless supply of music, what does it actually take for a sound, an artist, or an idea to truly be heard? That's the challenge for everyone in this scene, and that's the question we'll leave you with.